Hey guys, so I've been watching this long hangout that Tim Osman had a couple of days back. This one here. Um, because it was quite long, I've kind of been watching it in pieces. So I was watching a section earlier on today and I had it up on the TV. And it's a bit where Ali B decides he's going to challenge Soundly over a particular picture from one of his old observations, which he claims debunks Soundly's claims about Lake Pontchartrain. No, obviously it's nonsense. Ali's, just being stupid as usual. He's been making this claim for quite a long time. Actually, he's insistent that he's the one. He's debunked him a long time ago, and it can all be forgotten about. So because he had Soundly in there with him, he couldn't resist the opportunity to try and talk about this with him. Because the hangout's so long, it's a bit much to skip through it. But I recorded a couple of bits earlier just to show you what I'm talking about.
Timmy, will you share my screen? Timmy, please share my screen.
That's like a fishing boat or something?
That's it, there you go. Right, this is a photograph you took, Soundly, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Top right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, this isn't. This is off Google, this is off the Google Maps. Now that there is that there. This pylon, right? Now
you're actually in my two pictures there's actually two lined up, one in front of the other.
Right, but it doesn't matter. That pylon there on my right hand side, right? On the right hand side is what did you say, 17 miles away, 16 miles away or something?
About 16. That's close enough.
Can you see that is the whole pylon there?
It's not, sorry.
Right, okay.
You have it sized incorrectly.
Okay, have a look.
Okay, so as you can see, Ali's whole point is he thinks that in the image on the right, that's the entire pylon as depicted on the left. Soundly has told him he's wrong. It's not the full pylon and it isn't sized correctly. And also, before I move on, just take a note of this picture on the right, that the fact that there is obviously a lot of refraction going on at the lower portion of the image. As the hangout went on, Tim took a screenshot into Photoshop and decided to mess around with it and see if he could scale it up. And in doing so, at first, it seemed to match up to what Ali was saying, and Ali is overjoyed. So I'll let you hear a wee bit of that.
That's where he always goes back to. When he gets proven wrong by the flat earth.
Glowbusters already did that.
That would be cool.
Timmy, what were you saying? Timmy, what were you saying now?
The mechanical gyroscope.
Go and look.
Glowbusters use a ring laser gyroscope and prove
the
drifting
mechanical
lovely job,
gyroscope.
Timmy. Thank you very much. You've done a better job than I could do.
Yeah, this is my blink test, Soundly. It seems to match up pretty good.
You're busted, Soundly.
Glowbusters. You big
Hey, hold on.
So as I said, Ali thinks this is all going in his favour. He's all overjoyed. Tim initially does think that it seems to roughly match up, and Ali starts to show his true colours. Now, as the hangout progressed, Tim continued to kind of mess around with this image and started to try and line things up, and he was never really fully successful. He kind of was constantly messing around with it, and obviously he was running the hangout, he was busy. And I was hoping that during the course of what I was listening to while they were all chatting at each other, that eventually the issue would have been resolved properly. And it never happened. And, it ended up, the full adjustment wasn't made, and it eventually got dropped and they were talking about other stuff. I'll just pause the video quickly here to show you what I'm talking about. You can see Tim, he's zoomed in, he's got the image a bit more contrasted, he's trying to draw lines to line things up and so on. So this went on for a bit of time. So as I was watching it today, as I was watching it on the kind of big screen, and it was easy for me to see what was going on with this image. So I've taken some screenshots and I'm just going to show you why Ali is completely wrong. So I took this screenshot from Tim's hangout, and as I say, he's already contrast adjusted the picture of the pylon on the left. Now, all the time that Tim was trying to line things up, the assumption was being made, although you can see he's trying to line up features at the top, there was always this assumption being made that the void at the bottom of the cutout matches up to the large diamond void at the base of the pylon. I've taken that original screenshot, given it a little bit more contrast enhancement myself so things are a bit easier to see, and then I've just cropped that down a bit. So, you know, it may be obvious to some people already, but really what the issue is that the assumption has been made, as I said, that this void matches up to this open area here at the base of the pylon. But in reality, that isn't true. This is actually this area here, and I'll show that in a second. So in this final image, I've taken this image here, brought it over to the other side, and then reproportioned it to show you what I'm talking about. This is the void, the first void matched up here, and the second void matched up here. And of course, as I've said, you know, you can see in the original image that the lower half is an inferior mirage. There's a lot of refraction in the image. So the reason this looks like such a big void is because the upper half is being mirrored underneath. And this is really indisputable. You know, if anybody wants to try and argue this, they're going to have a hard time, because there are only two voids visible on this image, which hopefully you'll all be able to tell in the final rendered video here. And that's the problem. There are three voids with the girder design on the pylon. You can see it. 1, 2, and then 3 for the large one at the very base. And there's only 2 on this image, and you can see that it lines up. Now, as I say, there's refraction here, there's inferior mirage, so there's going to be a bit of stretching of the image. It's not going to be perfectly in proportion, so you're going to struggle to get an absolutely exact match if you try and line this image up with an image of the pylon when it isn't being distorted in any way. But this is as close as I could get it to demonstrate what I'm talking about, keeping the upper half roughly lined up. So you have to choose, obviously, which part are you lining up exactly when you're trying to do this part at the top. So allowing for the little bit of distortion that's obviously going to go in terms of the overall dimensions of the thing, lining up the top end and then keeping these two voids pretty close to in line. And if you want to be really picky about this, you can argue that it can be slightly adjusted just a little bit more, but the main point remains is that these two voids here are these two open areas here on the pylon, which means that this image, the original image with the bridge, the horizon, etc., what you're seeing disappearing below the horizon is the upper part of the pylon, and all of this area is below the horizon. Then obviously the last thing we can do just to double check is we'll compare what I've done to what Soundly did in his original blink test video, which he was trying to show in the hangout to demonstrate why Ali was wrong. Okay, so what I'll do is, when the image comes up, I'll hover over the void with the mouse. Okay, so there's the void area there, the second one. And as Soundly's blink test comes in, you can see that is the same. He's in agreement with what I'm saying. So just to look at that again, the base of this pylon is not visible in this image, because this is what you're seeing, and you're only seeing a mirror image of that, which only takes you so far. So once again we've got somebody who is claiming to debunk what Soundly shows because they were too lazy to pay any real attention to what they were looking at. Anybody choosing to dispute that, they're going to have a hard time, because you can clearly see that there are only two voids in the image, and the only other option would be to try and claim that all three are in this original image but somehow it's too fuzzy to see. Well, if it's too fuzzy to see, you can't really make any claims about what can be seen. So you can't win either way. But at the end of the day, the problem always comes down to flat earthers are just in denial about what's happening at Lake Pontchartrain. Lake Pontchartrain is not unique on the Earth in terms of the actual curvature that's there. It is unique because the structures that make it much easier to see the curvature there. But everybody in Flat Earth hates Soundly because that place exists, and just because he's went out and taken photographs of it with a camera. That is how petty and pathetic these people are. They won't accept reality. They will go to, obviously not enough lengths, but they will, go out of their way to try and attack Soundly, attack his character, claim every possible ridiculous alternative as a potential option for what they're seeing in Soundly's images, rather than just accepting that the Earth is curved and this is how it looks. But Ali, you're wrong. Back to square one. Thanks again, guys. Catch you in the next one.